son's computer. So
recording in progress. It says we're happy.
All right. We have liftoff.
we have liftoff. Tim, I told Carl I made the poll, but it won't transfer to my son's computer.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
So you'll just have to ask us questions.
Nice.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, there were 10 marks.
Would you like me to read from the prop book?
I think there are 11. 11.
So
Okay.
11 sounds right.
This is the first poll.
Bamberger. Then we scroll down to Davis.
Yeah.
And then we scroll down to Emmerich and Fowl and Hoffman. And sorry, I was somebody counting because I'm just reading here. Well, I don't know, you guys. So far, that's all I'm seeing.
Oh, there's more.
Okay.
I thought there were like 9.
I'm only halfway through. Let's see. I may be scrolling.
Catholic and Tortoritis or
Mark Tortoritis, yeah.
Tortoritis.
Okay.
Schwartzman.
Wharton was there Wharton? Was there a Wharton? Okay. Well, anyway, you guys, you remember.
There was Robert Mark Van Allen.
Oh, yes.
Otherwise known as Ace.
Hi, Janet. Hi, Claudia. Hi, Bill.
Hey there.
Trying to get a handle on who's here.
Well, we'll probably do a roll call.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Somehow we look a little bit different.
How did that happen?
Well, I was going to ask if this is kind of a 50th reunion or thing for the freshman year. Does that imply that the participants on this call are each 50 years older?
I don't think so.
Oh, good. That's comforting.
Do you remember the first time you saw the tent for the 50th? I mean, didn't they look ancient?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Wheelchairs, golf carts. Oh my God, we'll never be that old.
Well, people have gotten better and better.
I'm pretty sure.
Well, I was on campus yesterday to watch the massacre against UCLA, and of course, the place was teeming with reunion folks all over the place. And last year, when we had reunion weekend, they had a gigantic tent in the middle of Lot 10, so they could do dinners and stuff like that. And not this year, but there were a lot of people going around in golf carts.
Hi, Joan. Fun to see you after 50 years.
Please, 50. Okay. This is your Zoom. Thank you for doing this.
Well, whoever still has a pro account is liable.
I don't. I know. I like my meetings are 40 minutes. It's great.
Yeah, that's true. I'm gonna put.
What have I missed?
We're only just everybody coming in, and Carl and Tim, you've got this meeting. I'm just busy welcoming people. Here comes Kim.
So can I share something, Diana, or do you have to give me permission to do that?
I can do that.
Okay.
I think I can do that.
All right.
Share screen. Okay, you got it.
All right. I figure out how to do this. All right. So why don't we do a roll call first, and then we'll get started. Okay.
Yeah. Kim, we see that you're in, but we don't see your video yet.
There she is.
She's been found.
Hi, Janet.
Hi. Hey.
Where's everybody else?
Well, I got a few last-minute emails saying that they couldn't attend. Pressstone and Bill Perrine. Ken Schmidt told me, sent me one a while back. So
are the people who are in it, I don't know, maybe I have this thing set wrong. Let's see. 17 participants. There everybody is.
How how do you want to do a roll call? Do you want us to say who we are so we can remember? Because I have to confess, there's I am not looking at my Frosh book, and I'm failing to identify certain people. So,
Well, go for it then.
I'm Lynn Cochran Caruso.
And where do you live?
Oh, okay. I'm in Cloverdale. I mean, I have Janet and I were laughing this morning because, it was like, are we going to procrastinate writing the answers to these questions? Like other homework, but anyway, so I live in Cloverdale, but I won't answer the questions now. Cloverdale's about 90 miles above San Francisco. It's about 8,500 people, and we've been here almost 17 years, which is longer than we've lived anywhere. So, okay.
Nice.
Next.
Lynn, if you call on somebody else, that's an easy way to go around the.
Is that I'm looking at the gentleman next to me in the blue shirt. Is that Kim?
They're all, everybody's
different.
mixed up.
Every
Because there's
tweet.
a gentleman in a
I
blue
know,
shirt.
kinda
You're
random.
next to Cindy.
Hold the grid. It is Kim. Hi, Kim. Introduce yourself. Hi.
Kim Anderson. I lived on the third floor in 301 with John Berner. My wife and I just moved from our home of 35 years, almost exactly 1 year ago. So we're in Sparks, Nevada now, near our youngest son. And 5 little toddlers.
Wow.
Wow.
Let's see.
So Kim, if you pass the baton to somebody.
Bill.
Greetings. A week ago yesterday, I would have driven right past you then. My wife and I'm Bill Connell, third floor. We went out to see the eclipse, the total annular eclipse.
Yeah.
Midway between Elko and Winnemucca. Unfortunately, it was cloudy, but we did get to see it for a little bit through the clouds. So that was nice. But we drove right by Sparks.
Yeah. Well, stop next time.
All right. I am sitting still about a good drive, or maybe a bad drive, and a 5-iron from Stanford Golf Course in Menlo Park.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a daughter and her family up in Seattle with 2 grandkids and a son in Chicago. And I didn't actually look at the questions until a few minutes ago. And so I'm busily trying to think of something that, I did at Stanford that I remember.
That's good.
Oh, let's see. I'll throw it to the other Bill. Although maybe the other Bill was meant to be me when Kim said, I don't know.
No, I meant you. Oh, okay. I recognize you easier.
Well, I'm Bill Berg, lived on the third floor. I've lived in Portland ever since I got out of school. My wife and I are very old parents and adopted 3 children, all from Asia, none of whom live anywhere near Portland. I still have a senior in college down in San Francisco. And so one of my memories is and how Trancos helped me was my oldest went to Rhode Island School of Design, and I was encouraging her to take math there because she'd gotten a really good score on her calculus AP test. And she says, well, Dad, you don't understand. There are kids that are way better in math than me. I said, oh, honey, I fully understand because I thought of myself as a math person, and of the first 5 people I met when I arrived at Trancos, 3 of them live on a planet I will never visit with respect to math. And it's okay. It's still good, to be good in math. And she listened and is now, involved in biotech, and sort of her STEM background helps her in what she does. So, I will pass it to Mark Davis.
Well, hi. Yeah, this is a lot of fun, and I think we're not doing our full story right now, but I live in Piedmont, California, which is right next to Oakland, and that other town that has a university in it that shall not be named. And we've lived here for a long, long time. And if we're going to get into more detail later on different things, we certainly can do that. But yeah, we have 2 sons, and they each have wonderful granddaughters. and one lives in Santa Barbara, where we are right now. We're undergoing the ordeal of babysitting, and it's wonderful. And the other one lives very nearby where we do in near Piedmont there. So I need to hand it off to somebody else. I see. How about none other than I mean, we'll get to these memories later, but one of the highlights was just how frequently I beat Tim Stevens at chess, like all the time. And so I'll hand this over to Tim, who can comment on my tendency towards being a pathological liar.
Hi, Tim Stevens. Patty and I live in Littleton, Colorado, just south of Denver. However, we have a daughter for Bill. Patty adopted her from China. She's a junior at Arizona State. So we're down here. I'm in Phoenix right now for the whole academic year, August through May, to support my stepdaughter. She's really shy and quiet, never lived away from home. And what else? We actually have 4 kids. I have 2 kids from a previous marriage, and Patty adopted 2 kids, one from China, one from Kazakhstan. So I have 2 stepdaughters and 2 biological kids. So we have 4 kids. And I'm still doing the kid thing. 2 of them are trying to herd through college. A third one's living at home, and one has launched. It's just moved from South Dakota to Oregon just this past week. I'll pass it to the other Kim, who actually was my kid's pediatrician for a number of years there.
Okay. Let's see. I live in Palo Alto. Didn't go very far. And what else are we supposed to say? I didn't do my homework at all. I read those things. It's like, what was exciting? I can't think of anything. So anyway, I was a pediatrician. I did take care of some kids from Trancos, which was really fun. And I'm retired now, and I love being retired and doing much of anything. I have 2 kids, and they do live in Berkeley, but that's okay. And 1 grandkid right now. That's it. Okay, let's see. How about John Berner?
Okay, I was Kim Anderson's roommate in 301. I live right across from Stanford on the Dumbarton Bridge, and live in Fremont, affordable housing. 2 daughters and 3 grandchildren, 2 up in Seattle and 1 nearby in San Leandro. And pass it on to Janet.
To who? Me?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought I heard Jeff, and I thought, oh, no, Jeff's not here. Janet, I'm in Vallejo, California. You may have heard a lot about Vallejo in the news this year about how we have a state of emergency with our police force. But anyway, aside from that, I've been in this neck of the woods since the early 80s. I lost the love of my life in 2018, but I do have 3 stepchildren, 7 grandchildren, and 3 great-grandchildren. Wow. Most of them in the which is kind of exciting. The grands and great-grands range from 5 to 33 years of age. So, let's see. I was going to say one of the more interesting things that happened this year was I got on the Savannah Bananas bandwagon. And if you have never seen Kim Harvey dressed in a banana outfit, you have really missed something.
You're lucky.
Do we have pictures?
You should share the links. Share the links.
Oh no.
Actually,
No, not
there
necessarily
is a
of you.
picture.
You're entitled to your privacy, but they're pretty
There is a
outrageous.
picture, which actually, if Kim doesn't mind, I can share on the on our Trancos site on the alumni page, the alumni center thing that we have. So I will, if it's okay with Kim,
Feel
I'll post.
free.
Anyway, so I'll pass this on to who's right below me here. No, that's Sean.
I just had to unmute here. I've got a fountain right outside. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. So I just want to show you I'm not at home. I'm out in Maui right now.
Oh.
And just a beautiful day. It's a little earlier than where you are, but I spend about so 4 months a year here. So I live in Bellingham, Washington, way up north, just south of the Canadian border, about 30 miles. And I guess I've been there since about 84. So quite a while. I have 3 children, 2 daughters. They're both nurses. One lives in probably not far from you, Bill Berg, in Portland. And the other one I work with at a surgery center. So I've been doing anesthesia ever since I got out of residency and stuff, and spent a couple years in Australia doing that too. And like this kind of reunion, I went back for 3 weeks last March, or this past March, and reunited with all the people I had been with during that time, which was about a year and a half in 85 and 86. And it was just incredible, just wonderful. So I hope we get to talk about the things that meant a lot to us a little later in this, but life is good. I'm still working. I work 2 or 3 days a week for my group. I retired from the group, but like healthcare everywhere, well, probably work everywhere, people are short of workers. So I just sit on the bench till they need me, and still really enjoy doing that. So it's just so good to see all of you who are here. And let's see, who should I pick on next? Bam.
Yo.
I'm gonna call you Mark. I'll call you Bam.
You can call me. You can call me whatever. Hi everyone. So thank you for organizing this whole thing. I have to say that just general concept, general impression here is it's wonderful to see people, and great to reflect back on our time together. And as I was trying to figure out what I'm going to say, we can talk later about other things, but my view of my Stanford experience and Trancos experience was, number one, I look at Stanford as the great land of opportunity. You know, you can do anything, and there's like so many great opportunities for everybody. But also, I look at it as the Papa John's approach, which is better ingredients, better pizza. You know, when you put a bunch of really good people together, and that's, I think, what we all were fortunate to have, good things are going to happen. You know, we were in a great environment, and basically, I think we were fortunate to come around at the right time when you could get really good people, and and put them together. And you know, I still have great memories of and connections with some of the group. And like I said, we can talk more about that. But I'm fortunate to still be practicing medicine. I must say, I don't really think about retirement, but other people make me think about retirement. Like they ask me, so how long are you going to be practicing? Or people in the group have already retired and liking it. And I go, geez, I hadn't even, it's not in my thought process yet. So anyway, I still practice, and a guy who's not in the room is Tel Cambray, and he's in LA where I am, and he still practices, and he and I share patients from time to time, and it's a wonderful feeling to go back 50 plus years and say, you know, I knew, and I can say, like, he's in a different specialty than I am, but I can say, you're going to a good guy. And how do I know that? Because I lived with him for, you know, a year. I just tell you that. And that's good. And the other person who I get to see a lot, or not a lot, maybe not as much as possible, and that's who I'm going to throw it to. And that's Joan. So Joan, take it.
Hi, everyone. I apologize if I start glitching out. Thanks, Bams. Good to see you. I am here in LA. I'm in the Hollywood Hills. Have been here for a long time in the swirl of the entertainment community. I am a son, a daughter. They're here. They're back from colleges here. Just want to say 2 things. One, the concept of retirement, I think, is also not in my cards because I'm involved in education. And as I say to people, I could have 3 eyes and be drooling from both sides of my mouth, and I could get a job tomorrow. So I am still involved, not full time, but I tutor math, believe it or not, 5th grade math, 6th grade, 5th grade. I have private tutors, tutees, and I'm in education, having gotten my credentials from Berkeley, Nancy, both from Berkeley. I will say one memory, and I'll pass it to somebody else. One memory was pretty much my first week, that first gathering that we all had down in the common area. And I walked in and everybody was kind of there, and I felt a little shy. And then I saw cups and glasses and wine on the table. And I thought, oh my goodness, I'm not 21. What's, because the perfect coming from high school. And I do remember that moment and thinking, okay, this is kind of, and everybody was kind of very nonchalant about it. It was like, oh yeah, no big deal, no big deal. And yet I'm thinking inside me, I'm going, oh my goodness. And my roommate at the time, Nancy, and I were both going, oh my goodness, what is going on? So that's one of the many memories. But I'm going to pass it to Mason, because you were probably in charge of the wine.
Where's Mason?
I think Mason
left.
Yeah, he's probably coming back.
I need the full 411 on that. Okay, Nancy, you're up. Nancy.
Oh, okay. Yep, I'm on. Hi. It's lovely to see you all. It really is. Yeah, I'm working. Like Joan, I'm a teacher, and I teach, yes, across the bay, and I love it there. I have all of California's children in their beautiful variety. And I can help them in a way that, in my experience at Stanford, I was the only one who needed help. I was way over my head at Stanford, and I've written this, so I'll keep it very brief, but I had to drop out. I had no money and no direction, and it was really good for me. And I grew up a little and came back, majored in philosophy, went to law school. Boy, that was a mistake. It was a youthful error. But tried to practice that, and then went back to graduate school, and now I teach philosophy in the rhetoric department at Berkeley. And yes, I love it. And like others have said, including Mark Bamberger, other people are retiring, and you look around and say, wait, why? Right? I really love what I do. My in-laws at every big gathering used to say, are you still teaching? By which they meant, I'm sorry to report, you're married now. Yeah, you're still working. Yeah. But now people say it, and what they mean is, you're really old. But I think, what would I do if I retired? I would see friends, and I would sing and dance. And I've been doing those, the latter two, for the last about, a dozen years now. And I do it a lot, and it keeps me happy. Yeah.
Nancy and Mark Davis, it's ironic. Nancy went from law to philosophy, but Mark went from philosophy to law. So you guys just went the other way.
Yeah, he's earning more too.
No, I retired.
And we're probably earning the same.
And for those who don't know, Nancy and I sang together in the San Francisco Bach Choir for some period of time, and I've been in and out, but what are you singing in these days, Nancy?
I was in an opera chorus for the first time earlier this year. That's very exciting. I've been in Revels, which has 10 companies across the country. So none of you are immune from my, ads. There's one in the East Bay that I participate in. It's a seasonal presentation of song and dance and stories from a different culture and era every year. Very cool. Very cool. And I dance with a dance troupe that goes to international folk dance festivals and does historic American dances in costume.
Oh.
And that's enormous fun. And I'm on a Morris team. Those of you who know what Morris dancing is, it's ridiculous. What else? And lots of Irish dancing.
Pass it on.
Oh yeah. But I got here a few minutes late, so I don't know who hasn't spoken yet.
I wrote it down. So pick somebody and.
Okay, Diana?
Yeah.
Good.
Hi, Nancy.
Hello.
I live up on Whidbey Island, just north of Seattle. I've been there since '89. Love it there. I have 2 kids. One is in Seattle with 2 grandkids, and one is here in Irvine, where I am right now, with 3 kids. The oldest grandchild is just entering college, the UW. So I get to still see her. I don't think that ages me more than those who still have younger children, just so you know. I retired at 54 because of illness and then got better. And I am basically a full-time volunteer as a result of that, although I'm trying to mentor, that concept that maybe your time is done and it's time to pass on. I'm working on that. And I will pass it on to Mason. Hi, Mason.
Hey there.
Oh, he's back.
By some measure, I retired at age 34 when I left the Stanford Business School and have been working for a variety of different causes throughout the U.S. and abroad. I'm sorry to be a little late getting through security here at the airport to fly to Qatar and then Johannesburg. Took a little more time. I'm still in Seattle, but I'll be leaving. And I work with an arts center in West Africa, in Ghana, West Africa, and I'm just doing my thing.
Wow.
It's fun.
That's right.
It's to the point where I can take vacations and prove to the IRS that it's a business trip.
Don't ever lose that.
Yeah.
Mason, we're just passing it on. You just pick someone.
Since I got in late, I don't know who has spoken and who has not. So go for it. Somebody else who's been watching.
How about Claudia?
Hey, Claudia Groff Browns in San Diego. That's where I was when I came up to Stanford. Knew Janet from high school, actually. I'm still working. I teach family therapy, master's, grad students. So like nobody needs mental health issues these days. So I'll have a job about as long as I need at this point, supervising and doing a little bit of therapy and writing and teaching. Got 3 kids. Just got the news a half an hour ago that my middle daughter landed safely in Burundi, where she's adopting a little girl. She's worked in orphanages before and that'll be number 6 grandbaby. And they're all within 10 minutes of us. So life is busy, including my 96-year-old mom and 93-year-old mother-in-law, and got the 7 months to like 96, right? So I've got the whole life cycle thing going on here. So as a family therapist, it's helpful for at least for me to understand some of those dynamics. So it's a little bit about me. Still married and enjoy my husband. So that's kind of fun. Let's see, who hasn't? Steve, I don't think you've done yet.
Nope, I came in late too. So hello again, everyone. So I've spent almost all of the years since Stanford in the Bay Area. Been in Sunnyvale for quite a while, then Half Moon Bay, and now I'm in San Jose. I did spend 3 years back in Oregon with my family, and I'm sure many of us have gone through the aging parents issues. But I think I was unemployed at the last in-person reunion. I still am, although I'm currently a finalist for a database management job. So keep your fingers crossed for me. Retirement, well, I spent too many years being unemployed to even consider it. So I think I'm in it for the remainder of the long haul. And I'm still active in theater. I've been on the board of the of lyric theater in San Jose for I don't know, many decades now. And I'm currently the acting president because the real president stepped down due to health issues, and I'm looking desperately for a replacement because I don't want to go back to doing that. But mostly with the theater group, I am doing exactly what I was doing at Stanford, which is lighting design. I've found it to be my real craft that I'm good at. I think a lot of people go through life just working away and not even considering having a second kind of, well, I'd call it a hobby, but it's a little more intense than that. But I really enjoy it, and still get a kick out of watching other people on stage under my lights. And a lot of what we do is Gilbert and Sullivan, and you'll remember I was one of the first Savoyards too. So, okay, I think that's all. And again, I don't know who else is gone, so raise your hand if you haven't spoken yet. How's that? Okay, Lisa.
Hello and greetings. Sorry to get on a little late. I'm speaking to you from Washington, D.C., where I've been since 1980. I came here with a freshly minted master's in public policy, figured I'd stay for 5 years and then go back to California. The things happen. So I've been working in health policy, legislation policy in one form or another. When I tallied up the years, it became 43, actually. My last 15 were at NIH. And since the last time we met, I retired in February and have been enjoying suddenly being able to take a vacation and do interesting things. And so I've been having a good time. And I've got 2 kids. My older daughter is a playwright who is finding you can't really eat on that if you live in New York. So she's she's in a coding software boot camp, and seems to be oddly enough liking software, which is good because that's what her husband does. And together they'll be a real strong team. And then my younger daughter had spent 6 years in Japan and moved back and is working at the Japanese embassy and the administrative staff of the ambassador. And it's been fun having her back. It's a little odd having an adult child who's been independent, but it's a very different sort of relationship, but it's fun. And we've been eating much more interesting food since she came back. So there are no grandkids by blood in the vicinity, but there are lots of little kids who've moved into the neighborhood, and it's a lovely place. You should all come and visit. Mason came and visited, and it was fun. And health policy, I feel like I've been taking a break since I've retired, but I'm kind of exploring a bunch of things at the moment because it's hard having done variations on a theme of how to help Mark, you and Sean. I think Mark Schwartzman too. Help you guys do your jobs better and not get in the way. It's hard to get that out of your system. So I may be calling just to get some thoughts. So anyway, so with that, I'm gonna kick it to Lynn. Lynn, did you talk?
I kicked it off. So
Cindy, did you talk?
No.
I will kick it to Cindy.
I'm so glad you were on. I wasn't sure if you were going to be on the call. Yeah, I'm Cindy Seema Ivy, and I'm in Menlo Park. We've been here now for more than a quarter century, which sorry, I don't know if you can hear the train, but Caltrain's running. I'm not that far from campus. And I have spent my life in a house of engineers. I have two sons who are engineers, both of whom live close by, and my husband's an engineer. And we were talking about retirement this morning. I'm retired from working for the state, but I had a long period of being a volunteer like Diana after that. I was thinking about this call, and I just wanted to say, if any of you, I don't remember who they were specifically, but some of those guys in this group and many of the ones who aren't here were my helpers in math, because I was pre-med when I started. And I think it was, let's see, who else was in my 8 a.m. calculus class? Nancy.
Maybe. All I remember is
yes,
that
we both. What were we doing anyway?
What were we doing? And I was rehearsing till really late, and then I would come back, and Brady, God bless her, was asleep. So I tried to do my homework in the hall.
Oh,
and in the morning we'd go to class, and I mean, I always went to class. My students don't have quite the same.
It's a different.
They're more rational.
Now.
But it doesn't matter that I went, because I never saw Professor Bacon's face. Right. Just his back against the board, 9 boards or something filled with scrawls, and I just tried to write them down. But then about halfway through, I wrote in pen, and then the little line would just go down the page. Because I had fallen asleep. Of course I had.
Well, I think my Trancos gift that year in the Trancom was a year of math problem-solving partners. So I just wanted to belated thank you to all of those people who helped me. Anyway, yeah. So later on, I'll discuss my Italian thing. So, so let's see. Now I have to look. Tim's spoken. Who's missing? Mark Schwartzman. Have you spoken yet?
I have not.
Okay, let's go with you.
Thank you. Thank the organizers for doing this. It's really a wonderful thing. And so I've been in Princeton for 37 years after finishing training. And I thought about this not too long ago, that the house I live in, it's the longest time I've ever lived in a home. It beat out, the house that I grew up in, because I've been there in the house now longer than, until I graduated high school. So that was interesting to me that that could happen. And I'm still working full time. In fact, I guess because a couple other urologists in town retired, I think I'm busier than I ever was. And I'm probably too old to be busier than I ever was, but I'm coping. And I'm married, and I have 2 kids, and my wife was an athlete, and I'll never be an athlete in this life, but I've been more athletic. And I met someone recently bicycling who had gone to Stanford, younger than us, and but he told me he goes to like every 5-year reunion for like the last 25 years, like every one, and told me about all the good bicycling on campus. And so I'm looking forward to that in 3 years. My wife wants to go and bicycle around, the greater Stanford area. And who hasn't spoken?
I see Betsy sneaking in.
Yeah,
so
Betsy's here.
Oh, Betsy. Yes.
You're on mute.
I haven't seen. I don't see Betsy.
She's with
she's
Kim.
there with Kim. I think you're muted, Betsy.
No, you're
Hi.
Okay, I assume that's Betsy
I was
Morris.
hoping to sneak in incognito. Yes. Anyway, what are we saying? Where we are now and what we're doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
So John and I live in San Rafael now. We were in Atlanta for a million years. We moved out here about 7 years ago. And we have 2 kids. one of whom's in Berlin, one of whom's in Half Moon Bay. And I left the Wall Street Journal in January, but I'm still writing, kind of freelance, and I'm going to be doing some work at Stanford too, starting about in December, which will be really cool. Be working with the McCoy Family Center for Ethics, writing case studies. So I think that'll be very fulfilling. Anyway, that's me. And I see Kim a lot, which is great.
Cool. Well, so I think I'm the
I
last
think
one that hasn't spoke. So I'm Carl. Let's see. I live in Santa Rosa, so I'm sandwiched physically between Lynn, about an hour north, and Janet, about 45 minutes south. So we're in the North Bay. Let's see. I have a son who is a senior in high school, so I've been going through. He got his license in August, so he's been borrowing the car. We've going. He drove home from Stanford like last night from the football game, so he enjoys driving fast. So I can't remember being like that when I was young, but and I lost my wife 3 years ago, so I am a single parent, and besides trying to raise my son, my cooking skills have improved significantly from my bachelor time. So enough so that my son is like, "Dad, can we try something different now that you've served the same basic thing?" So, so it's always the classic of what's dinner? What's for dinner tonight, Dad? And says, "Well, let me see." So, but I am not retired, but I've told my boss that in November of next year I'm going to retire. I worked 46 years at a company, and it's time to it's still fun. It's not as much fun as it was a long time ago. I work for Keysight Technologies, which is actually a spinoff from Hewlett Packard, and I'm in a training group. So for the last 10 years, my job has been facilitating and training new hires. So I didn't think I'd ever be a teacher, but it's been fun. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. And after I retire, I don't know, but high on my list is to go work in a winery. There you go. You live in wine country, it's kind of stuff, and you get to still talk to people and be a nerd about wine. So there you go. But cool. There are a couple of people three people that did send me emails. So how about if I attempt to share those, and then we can see, at least you can see what they wrote me. I bet you probably are all copied on it anyway. So, okay, let's see if
I also just a few minutes ago got a text from Brad Jones.
Oh, okay.
Things that he wanted to say. So I'll go ahead and read those while you're kind of gathering. Okay. So he said to please share the following. He's in the Bay Area, and apparently he's in the car with his son driving to meet his daughter and her husband for dinner tonight. He says that he expects to be a grandfather for the first time in mid-December. His daughter is 7 months pregnant, so he's excited about that. He also attended the game yesterday, had a fun time, but bad outcome.
Worst game of the season.
Yeah. Oh, is that what it was? Was it?
Oh, yeah.
Awful.
And he also says that 2 weeks ago, he attended his 45th reunion at the Stanford Business School, and he was part of the reunion committee and enjoyed it very much. So he wanted to share that with everyone.
Oh, cool. All right. Okay, let's see if I can do this. Share screen. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. All right. So I got an email from Ken Schmidt. He said he would be in a plane going to Japan. And so it's a picture of Ken and his wife. And that they live in Belmont. So for you in the Bay Area, you kind of know where that is. In fact, for me, when I was playing hockey in Stanford, we would drive up to Belmont, where the Belmont ice rink was. So I got to know Belmont pretty well. So, which is, for the rest of you, it's between San Carlos and San Mateo. So, and he said he stayed in the Bay Area all along. He lived in Sunnyvale, Santa Clara, and Mountain View before he moved to Belmont. He and his wife Yoroko live in a condo, and he has a good view. So that's kind of cool. It's 2 adult children. The oldest is getting married in April and lives in Richmond. So that's north of Berkeley on the East Bay. And the youngest lives in Roanoke Park, which is about 10 minutes south of me. And so that's it for Ken. And then I think most of you might have gotten this quick email from Press who said, unfortunately, something came up and he won't be able to make it. I know he was looking forward to it. And then Bill Prine also sent something for a picture of his wife and his kids that he said his most exciting thing in Stanford was playing on the JV football team his senior year as a wide receiver. And then something about liberating some plutonium for a few seconds in a freshman physics lab. So those are the ones that had sent something in. So at least we can keep track of a few more of our Tranco sites. I did have a couple of things that I thought would be kind of fun for people to take a look at. I was kind of interesting. I look back 50 years ago today, and it's kind of bizarre given what's going on in the Middle East, but that at that point, basically the week before, Egypt and Israel had okayed a UN ceasefire plan. Can you believe that? I mean, my goodness, of all this stuff going on. And then, of course, we had the Nixon stuff of firing Archibald Cox as a special Watergate prosecutor. That Spiro Agnew resigns and Gerald Ford becomes VP. Pretty amazing, huh? To think of all that stuff happening in '73. And the A's beat the Mets to go to the World Series, and Charlie Finley gets another trophy. So kind of an interesting time. From a Stanford perspective, Richard Lyman is still a Stanford president. At this point in time, October 22nd, we would have been in school about 4 weeks. And then there was something in the Daily about the fact that food prices had gone up significantly, 3.8%, to the point of where the university couldn't raise our board bills enough to compensate for stuff. So they started cheapening out on what they supplied, as if we probably might have noticed. So, and there's a picture of where Stanford beats Washington on a field goal. So there you go. Now the real big fun thing is like, what were the top songs? And I was kind of intrigued. It's like the Rolling Stones had the #1 hit, Angie, and I was looking at the list of some of these songs. I'm going, gosh, I remember many of these. I'm not sure I remember Heartbeat. It's a love beat, but I bet you if I heard it, I might know it. So kind of interesting looking back of all this stuff. And then one last thing is, where do we all go on our sophomore year? This little pie chart. I was logging it because I had a copy that showed where everybody was going to be over the summer and where they were potentially going for their sophomore year. And so 2 big pieces of the pie here are unassigned. At that point, 17 people were unassigned, and 17 people are going into the trailers, myself included. But the rest of us were spread all over campus, all different places. So it was kind of intriguing that here we were all together for 1 year, and the next year was like spread to the wind. So kind of an interesting dynamic there. So, but I'm sure all of you kind of remember where you were sophomore year. I'm sure a lot of these unassigned folks, I know a few of them went off campus and others probably fall into place. So those are kind of my little trinkets for our stuff. I did want to bring up BAM's thing. There's challenge of 50 for 50 because we got 3 years to work on getting people to being on campus. One of the beauties of being for your 50th reunion is you get to go at halftime at the football game if you're there and stand out and wave at people. And besides special treatment. But any one of you can help. I've gone down a list of most people that Janet and I have been trying to get emails for. And on our original question of how many marks were there, I dug up BAM's trivia questions, and there were 10. And 3 of them are on the list of where we don't have any contact information for them. So if anybody has a chance or able to ferret them out, that would be good.
I have Mark Kaslick's email address.
Cool.
I've stayed in touch with him. I haven't seen him in a few years now, but I've stayed in touch with him.
Okay, cool.
Ever since leaving.
I tracking him down, and he had retired from his practice, and I left a message, and of course nobody did anything. So if you can forward that on, that'd be great. Then we can at least get him on our contact list. I did contact Kathy Snowden last week. I found her phone number, and she blocked it until she realized I was from Trancos. So we had a nice talk, but she is retired and living outside of Pensacola, Florida, retired as a lawyer. And she told me she'd send me an email, but I haven't seen it yet. So, but the goal here is to hopefully get enough people that we can stay connected with, that we can at least keep doing the virtual things, for next few years, and then have a good turnout for our 50th reunion in 3 years. So, okay, I think that's what I got here.
How many were in the Trancos?
Technically there are 85 of us, and can't remember if that included all the RAs or not. And I believe
four RAs should be added to that.
Yeah, so I think so. It might be 89, and we have and I think six of our dorm mates have since passed. So that's kind of my little look back in history, and another plug for BAM's thing of trying to get people to get together at least annually, and hopefully in 3 years to be able to do it face to face.
We're going to build. The campaign hasn't really started yet. Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So at least if we keep adding emails, at least we can get people and stay in touch. So.
Carl, I think
Catholic
Bill
lives
C
in-
has joined us. Did he get a chance to?
Bill
say what
Connell?
Yeah, I've been here from the beginning, but my computer, I have a fairly new laptop here, and I don't know if anyone noticed. I hope not. It went purple. My screen camera went purple. I've been attacked by somebody from Northwestern or Washington, I think. But if anyone else has had this problem, send me a private chat and let me know. I cannot get it to go away, so I've gone black and white.
And I thought you just wanted to stand out.
No, I've been trying to do this unobtrusively, but that's not
Very
easy.
noir. You need a fedora or something like that. You need a trench coat, something.
I don't know what's going on here. I just hit it a few times, but that doesn't seem to fix it. This is annoying, and it also means I may have to pull out the warranty on this thing and see what I still get out of it.
Look who joined. There
Hey,
you go.
It's Tel.
Hello.
Just in time.
How's everybody?
Hey. Welcome.
Oh,
good. It's one of those things where you think, there's something I'm supposed to be doing this afternoon. What was that? Maybe it's a senior moment. Sean, me boy, how are you?
Good, Tel. How are you?
Good.
Good, man. Yeah. Hey, I had just a thought for Mark Schwarzman, and that is that I think Doug Whittemore is a urologist in Connecticut. Or have you been aware of that at all?
I think there were
heard that a long time ago.
I think there were at least 4 urologists in our dorm.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Well,
Right.
I can
Something
name
in the water.
I can name the other. I can name 2 of the other ones, Jim Bassett and John Johnson.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah. And it wasn't Mark Kaslik, or isn't he a nephrologist?
He may be. I think that's right.
Yes. So he's retired. He's living near Boulder, Colorado.
Oh, good to know.
That's a great place.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Well,
We've had a chance to meet everybody and say where you're living and number of kids, pretty much
Me?
that kind of thing. You want to say how you're doing?
Yeah, I am living in LA, kind of where I grew up. Well, not exactly where I grew up, but in the same town. I have 2 kids. Patrick is actually on the phone, the other phone with my wife right now. He's 34, lives in Atlanta, works for Delta Airlines in network planning and fleet management, is desperately trying to get a job back here in LA because he'd like to come back home. And then my daughter Julia is 31. She's doing a PhD in computer science at Carnegie Mellon in Pittsburgh. Neither one married, no grandkids, nothing on the way. That's it. I'm still practicing, doing plastic surgery, where I've been here in LA since, I guess I finished my residency at UCLA in 1989.
Well, Tel, we need you more and more every year.
Interestingly, Sean, your name came up in a conversation with a mutual acquaintance, a guy named Mike Montgomery.
Oh, Mike Montgomery.
Who
Oh,
I think
my
you
God.
may have known from high school.
Yeah, long time ago. Wow.
Competing against him. So
I'll catch up with you on him. He's quite a character. Yeah.
Sounds good. He is, definitely.
That's great. Yeah.
Is it that Mike Montgomery or a different Mike Montgomery?
Oh, it's a different Mike Montgomery, not the basketball coach. not the turncoat who went to Cal.
At this point, we'd love to have him back.
I think so.
Mason,
But I
you
think
just meant
we'd probably also like to have Jim Harbaugh back.
before we keep going, Mason, you just mentioned that you have to take off. Do you want to have any final words or contribute before you take off? Mason?
Left the building.
I see him.
He might be
Mason.
muted. I don't know.
He might be muted. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. All right. Well,
Yep. So I'm sorry I had to cut out for a little bit. There's pounding on my door and yelling, and I had a couple of Santa Rosa's finest policemen at my door.
What?
Yes. Yes. So it's raining today. And my phone line goes like about a mile down the road. In fact, it's pouring right now. And when it gets rainy at times, it gets jittery and it makes random phone calls. And this is the third time I've had policemen at my door because it made a 911 call.
Oh, wow.
It's like, yes. Oh, I'm glad you're alive. There's not a problem. Yes, the dog was barking. So
Yeah, I don't feel so bad about my laptop camera now.
no. At least you just
Right.
been colorful. I got to be in a police log. So okay. Right. So where are we? Telling stories?
I'm on.
Carl, you mentioned that 6 of us have passed. I'm not aware of who they are. Can you name them off?
Yeah, let me dig it out. So off the top of my head, David Nakagaki, Ginny Van Allen, of Ginny Van Atta, excuse me, Paul Nancaro, Tom Naylor, Glenn Burgess.
Glenn Burgess and Jim Bassett.
Oh my God.
Wait.
Jim Bassett?
Wait,
Wait.
Jim Bassett?
No.
Not Jim
Oh, I'm
Bassett.
sorry. Wrong.
No.
I was thinking of Paul. We
No,
all
no.
went to the same high school. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So Naylor, Nancaro,
John Manley.
Nakagaki, Burgess, Van Atta. There's a sixth one in there. Let me
John
go dig
Manley.
it up. Huh?
John Manley.
John Manley?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
That was my
right.
that was my roommate. I didn't know that.
Oh, really?
Wait, can you say them again? I wrote down 6.
Okay, let me
Are there 6? There were 6. Never mind. I got all 6. Never mind. Got them.
yeah, I don't think I had Manley on my list. Let me go
Wait,
check.
no, you didn't.
It was
I
in the
didn't.
Stanford magazine a while back, I think. I think.
So I think there's
Okay, yeah,
some-
so I only had 5. So he would be 6.
What was
Okay,
it?
so John Manley.
Oh.
Okay.
And I can't remember. I'm having senior brain. Glenn Burgess's roommate. What was his name?
From Chicago.
Rick Jewell.
Rick
Yeah.
Jewell.
Is he okay? I haven't heard from him. I haven't heard of him.
I haven't heard anything from Rick. No.
Well, he's not on your missing list either.
No, he's we had an email for him. So but we have a list of emails we've used, and the only clue I have is when something's in trouble is when I get a bounce back, and bricks hasn't bounced back. So
Yeah, well.
John
Anybody
Manley.
anybody been in touch with Norm James?
Yes,
was
I
my-
saw him in March.
He was my
Yes.
roommate.
Yeah. He's living in Scottsdale, practicing law. Been there for long time. And plans to keep working for a while and stay there, and he's doing well. Yeah. Nancy, you said that you looked like you'd seen him or have been in touch with him also.
Nancy just put in the
Nancy
chat
just
that she
left.
has to go.
Oh, okay. That was what she was waving about. I saw her waving and I thought, oh, she's been in touch with him too. Yeah, we had lunch. I go to spring training, baseball spring training in the second week of March every year. And last year when Norm couldn't make the virtual reunion, he emailed, and so I said, hey, I'm going to be down there in March. How about lunch? So we had lunch when I was down there earlier this year, and it was great to see him because I didn't really know him while we were at Trancos, and so it was good to get together and chat. Yeah, I was hoping he would make it to this one, but apparently not.
Another person that I see several times a year is Joan's roommate, Nancy Ward, Nancy Kinney, and she's great. She seems real good.
Is
You
she
probably
still up
see her
there
more
in
than-
Cedro
more than
Woolley?
Yeah.
That's where she was born and raised, but she lives just about a mile from me in Bellingham. So she's up a little north of Cedro Woolley.
I should have reached out and gotten her and convinced her to join us on this. That would have been
And
fun.
next time I will for sure, Joan. Yeah,
Yes,
good idea.
Yes. Or get her
Yeah.
down to Stanford for the reunion.
Yeah, I've tried every time. I call her up before. I said, you should go do that. And she doesn't seem to, she always has something else going on.
Yeah.
Excuses.
Yeah. There's one other person too, Jim Reagan,
Ask
who was,
about him.
speaking of Doug Whittemore, that was his roommate. And Jim and I went to high school together. So, and I've been in touch with him off and on for the last couple of years. So I'll light a fire with him too.
Yeah, I had an email exchange with him, so
Good.
yeah, it was good to get in touch.
Good.
Did he go back to the west side of the US? I mean, he looked like he was heading towards Seattle last time.
I think he's in Washington D.C. area.
Yeah, I think so. He does a lot
And
of.
he has a
leadership and
son with special needs.
Yes.
That's takes a lot of his attention.
Right.
I'll take that on. I'll go. I mean, if you've got a hook, I'll try and find him. I ran into him. This is how long ago it was. I went to a rally on the mall. It was like 500,000 people. This was Lech Walesa was speaking. It was because of Glasnost. That was how long ago this was. And I looked over to my right, and there was Jim. And I just thought, okay, this is a man who walks in grace anyway. And so it was lovely to see him. And for a while we were in touch, but I got the impression he wasn't going to stick around. So I haven't seen him in decades. So if you've got a contact, let me know.
So I had an email exchange with him a week or two ago, and because we were chasing him down to try and find his email. I believe he's still in the Washington, D.C. area.
Happy to wrangle anybody. And I know a lot of you guys, we didn't cross paths while you guys were in training. But if you come in for something, give a holler.
I've seen Kelly Thompson. She's in Seattle. She was working at the University of Washington. The funny thing was that I saw her at the airport, and then a decade later, I saw her on the shuttle to the airport. And then finally, we had lunch together just before the pandemic. So I'm hoping to reestablish and rebuild a friendship.
Yeah, speaking of Kelly and Mary Ann Granieri, it was, I guess, a couple of years ago. It was right before the last reunion. They came and stayed with me in Bellingham because Mary Ann's grandmother lived and is buried in Bellingham. So they went to find her resting place, and it was so great to spend a couple days with them.
So Marianne lives across town from me.
Right.
You know, she's in a 100-year-old house, and we've had text exchanges, and I've tried for the last year to try and have lunch with her, and she's still a very busy, active physical therapist. So she told me last week she would try to find something on her schedule.
Very good.
Has anybody crossed paths with Mark Emmerich?
No.
Does anyone know what he did after Stanford?
The last I heard from him, he was living either in Denver or somewhere in suburban Denver. And I believe he might be selling insurance or something along those lines.
I'm wanting to hear, after reading what Bill Perrine wrote about his most interesting experiences at Stanford, since you gave us that assignment, I want to hear some of these. I don't think I wasn't exposed, being an English and French lit person, plutonium wasn't in my bandwidth. So, but when I kind of looked for my more interesting things, I was in the second group that went to Stanford in Paris, and we all went to different branches of the University of Paris. So I was at the Sorbonne. It was very humbling as far as my French. My French got a lot better there, and also I worked as a waitress on the Riviera after, and I was at a hotel restaurant where I think it was in Europe's 10 francs at that time a day, so no good tips, working every day, but great for your spoken French. And I taught French and English anyway, but no plutonium. Anybody else plutonium? Sorry.
Well, given, Lynn, since you were talking about that, probably my most interesting time at Stanford was actually not at Stanford, but the year that I took off and went to Europe, and Lynn and I traveled for a little bit. She got me out of my comfort zone by hitchhiking through the south of France. I said, "Oh, this is cool. Lynn speaks French. We're going to be good." And so I was there for almost 7 months, just hooking up with people here and there. And that was probably the most interesting experience I had during that period of time. I remember when you applied for that job in Juan-le-Pen. Was it Juan-le-Pen? Yeah. And then had to take off and left me in Milan. But
and there were strikes anyway. That was
but it was a very exciting time, something that pushed me out of my comfort zone and helped me. It didn't help me with the grand question of what am I going to do with the rest of my life, but it did help me know that no matter what happened, I was able to take care of myself. And so that was my probably most interesting thing of that time period. And Lynn, you did it.
Well, I'm not sure that's my proudest moment of abandoning you in Milan, but
no,
we're still friends, which is good. So anyway,
I didn't get to work with plutonium at all, but I did have the experience our senior year and my second senior year. I got to work for Alan Cox, putting together the control unit for a rotating magnetometer. You remember he was in geophysics and was working on dating systems or being able to date materials using the shifts in the Earth's magnetic field. And in some way, he was deriving the age of a material by exactly where it was in those shifts. And to do that, he needed a magnetometer that could rotate in exactly 90-degree steps. And the control unit for that, this was one of the first units or first applications I was aware of. They may have gone further back, of stepping motors. So it was a cooked plan, but he knew I was in EE and just had me working on it for a while. So it was interesting exploring a different side of geophysics that I hadn't really gotten in class.
Does anybody remember Alan showing us I think he was quoted in I don't know if it was a Nova or some PBS documentary called San Francisco, the City That Waits to Die was the title of it. And it's about earthquakes, and they had that the entire financial district is built on fill dirt. So they had this model where they shake it and the ground liquefies and the whole financial district disappears. So when I'm visiting my son at University of San Francisco, every time we walk by Bank of America Tower, I tell him to enjoy life.
That's great.
I've got a few here. First of all, freshman year at Trancos, after I finished second in the ping pong tournament with Brad Jones, who was also the evil landlord in Cox and Box. I won the softest beard in the dorm contest. I don't know who else participated. I did not have a lot of success growing a beard, but that was the result, which was great. I went to Stanford in France. I hitchhiked around, and I took the fall quarter off, and I was a great picker. I did this. That's hard work. But probably, well, I sang in the Mendicants, which was wonderful, and I'm still on the board of the group that supports the Mendicants. That's great. But probably the most exotic, crazy highlight was the philosophy club. We were invited to the faculty club by one of the professors, the undergraduate philosophy club. And when we showed up, it was a dinner around the pool and over there. And the guy starts going around saying, well, I've paid for a lifeguard at the swimming pool. I don't see anybody swimming. Well, we didn't know. We didn't bring any bathing suits. And he came by like 3 more times, but isn't anybody going to swim? And somebody sent a mischievous grin around, and we all skinny dipped the faculty pool. It doesn't get better than that.
Very good.
Yeah.
I share an experience. Can I have the floor, or whatever we call it? Hamburger. So, Joan, if you're still with us here, we were asked to bring cocktails, or apple cider. So I brought apple cider because I was a straight guy, and I'm still, straight in the drinking sense of the word. And, without being a therapist here, and then in the presence of therapists, I think we have them. I might not be able to articulate this correctly, but for many of us, we all got through and we're all happy about our days, but many of us had the challenges of adapting to, life in a new place and growing up and all that. And, like I said, I'm not a drinker, and I wasn't a drinker. And along the lines of just feeling out of it, I may have told some of you guys this story before, but somewhere on our floor, I was on the first floor, I walked down the hall and guys were doing shots, and they were doing shots of tequila. And I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it was about. And I had this feeling they were like making fun of me, because I thought they were going to get me to trick me into, the idea you're supposed to like put the salt on your thumb, bite into the lemon, and then take the shot. And I'm going like, no, you guys are like this. You guys are making fun of me. And I just remember feeling so out of it there that I didn't know any of this stuff. And then I have to morph into something else. Okay, so I made it through somehow, ended up being pre-med and surviving the whole thing. But as a guy coming out of LA in public school was pretty easy. in the sense that you went to class, you generally got assignments from the teachers. If you did your homework and you got the answers right in your homework and you figured out how to do it, then you went for a test and you like basically it was the same stuff, and then you'd get A's, and that's kind of what happened. And I got A's, and like I would go through whatever class it was and did well enough to get into Stanford and all that kind of stuff. So that's how I thought that school was supposed to go. And so I start off pre-med, and the first class was Chem 31, and Chem 31 was located in a place called Schultz Auditorium. And Schultz Auditorium was an old, decrepit auditorium that was attached to the anatomy department. And it was on a way far away, like, big bike ride away. So somehow, I don't know how I knew where it was, because we didn't have GPS and all that stuff. I didn't go with anybody. I think I got there a little bit late. And I go in this big auditorium, and there's some professor, you guys talk about Bacon and seeing the back of Bacon, and he's drawn on the board. There were some, I think he was, some guy who had like some sort of European accent, talking to us about quantum theory of chemistry. And I literally don't know what he was talking about. I thought that I was like the only one in the room who didn't know what he was talking about. And I felt like so distant and disconnected from everything. And I said, wow, everybody here knows this stuff, and I'm the only one who doesn't. And, I ended up making it through the first section of that class. And lo and behold, I didn't know what I was talking about, because I got like a D on the test. And it was like this shocking development that, wow, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do this stuff. I don't even know what they were talking about. And, it was quite the adjustment. I ended up somehow, I was so far down in terms of my scores that I was able to get together with the TAs and bump my grade to a C for the quarter. And that was like, this devastating thing, which is, I don't know what I'm doing here, and how am I going to get through this? And, suffice it to say, it was a life lesson, and I figured out what college was about and how learning is so much different. And, that was the academic experience. And then, like I said, there were these other experiences where I just said, I don't know diddly squat about, all these things. I don't know about Northern California. I don't know about anything. And, it turns out, as I can tell from the Nancys of the world, that feeling is not unique, that there's a lot of us who felt like that. Nowadays they talk about the imposter syndrome, like, they didn't really mean to choose me. I think they met the guy underneath me or something like that, the next application. But, like I said, I got through it. And as as we all know, you learn from your mistakes and your failures more than your great successes. So, I remember that as a very important transition for me, and one that I think I persevered through, but left its mark. And we all look back at Stanford, rah, it's great, but it can be challenging. So anyway, that's my story.
Thank you for articulating what I think a lot of us felt at various points.
But everybody else knew it. I didn't. So
Uh-huh.
No. None of us knew it. And
You
in
know-
fact, I was probably sitting 3 rows behind you, in that it was one of the few classrooms on campus. First off, it felt like it was all the way hell out by the mausoleum.
Yes.
It just felt like you were going forever. And then it was a very old-fashioned anatomy theater sort of classroom, where you walked in and you thought, if I am not careful, I'm going to trip and fall and end up down in the well. And you're right. It was at 8 o'clock in the morning, which is just inhumane. But, and I think you articulated the feelings that many of us certainly had, which is that you got to the place by being a more or less big fish in your little pond, and we all got together in our pond, and lo and behold, there were strange fish in our pond, and it was a much bigger pond, and the beauty of finding those with whom we could swim was, one of the good things to come out of the dorm experience and other things that we did extracurricularly. You know, I mean, my little, the thing that, I mean, I had many interesting stories, but I came to Stanford, don't laugh, I was going to solve the mind-brain barrier. I just basically thought, you know, that I really was convinced that I was going to make inroads with people who were trying to understand cognition and the physical brain. And so I signed up for 8 a.m. physiological psych classes, as Cindy will attest. And I love them. I was like so out of my depth, it wasn't funny, but I soldiered on. But what it meant was, by basically throwing myself against all the walls I could find, I found grad students who adopted me and taught me research methods and enabled me to participate in research. And I got to be, you know, kind of the bagman for them going off to present at Berkeley or other places on things that I moved away from completely. I mean, by the time I left Stanford, I was thinking about systems and organizations and how, you know, how industries work. You know, I wasn't thinking about neurons, but I sure got to spend a lot of time with neurons, and it was a great time. It was a great time, and the beauty of a place that if you showed up with sincerity and intensity, even if you weren't, you know, the brilliant, as brilliant as you had hoped you'd be, you know, that people would, they would extend a hand, and you could maybe climb to the shallow end of the pool and paddle and until you get the water wings on. Anyway, that's my story. So
I was thinking about a memory I have. I don't have a lot of memories from, to be honest, you know, during that time. I think a lot of other life has flooded in me, but that I think it was spring quarter. A troop of us, and I think Sean, you were part of this, went up to Ugly, and we stuffed this shirt and pants or something, and we threw off. It was during finals and during the second part of Ugly, and there was like about 8 of us from the dorm that threw off this. I'm thinking as a therapist how we traumatized people. It's so awful. But I was also thinking about how we trusted each other at that point in the dorm to say, this is really hard, you know, like this is really a challenge. We got to let off some steam. I mean, we did it in a very unhealthy way, but it was reminding me, Mark, of kind of feeling alone in the beginning, and then over time building some places of connection and support that has been really meaningful in my journey. So we did traumatize some people, but I do remember that experience.
Right. Before the throwing of the dummy in Ugly, somebody, I don't remember who, gave an impassioned speech about how they, you know, couldn't take it anymore. Do you remember who that was?
I think it was Charlie.
No, actually, Mark, that was me.
That was Sean.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he kind of leaned over the railing and pulled back.
And Claudia, you're so right. It was such a, I think back on that sometimes and I'm so embarrassed because it was such a bold and crazy thing to do, because Ugly had that center, you know, area. And so we had this little speech and then pitched this dummy over, and there were a lot of cries like, whoa, you know.
Yes. And then it was silence in the whole library. It was quite a scene.
Oh gosh. I think there were some you know, letters to the editor too about that later on that I happened to read, and I thought, I guess that was us, you know, that they're right about. But so naive, man. But it was pretty, you know, stress relieving.
It was incredibly, and we did it as a little community, you know, like to do that. So I thought that was important.
Right.
Can I make a comment for Mark Bamberger? I think I was in that class also, that chemistry class. And if I recall, I can't remember the professor's name, but I believe that a number of times he said that the students in that class were not nearly as good as the students that he had taught at Wisconsin. And I think he said it quite a few times. So, Mark, you weren't the only one that wasn't following along with that professor.
All right.
Was that first quarter, Mark? Do you think?
Absolutely. First quarter.
I think so, yes.
First quarter.
That was, I think, Hans Christian Andersen. That was the professor's name.
I think he had an accent, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that was him. Yeah.
And he was always drinking something from a mug.
And our TA was
Right.
named Wolfgang. Wolfgang was the guy who ran the section. And he also had an impenetrable German accent. It's like, what is this?
Right. So strange to, I had an image when I was growing up that Stanford University was the place that, you should strive to go to. And it was going to be it's so great. I didn't know what great meant. And to me, to then be stuck in that proverbial, that stereotypical big auditorium, totally disconnected from the professor, was like, wait, why is this so desirable? It's an ugly building that I'm in, and it's uncomfortable, and I don't know what he's talking about, and no one's paying attention to me. And my high school chemistry teacher was better than this, and it was just very jarring as an experience. I think nowadays in the educational system, I think that they try to get away from that whole idea that you have those intro classes where you'll never see the professor and it's all done by TAs. And I think at Stanford they try and do a better job, but that was just a shocking development that you could be that far removed from the educator. And that was college education in those days. I think to some extent it's better now, but from what I hear, there's still these ginormous classes like at the UCs, and it's a transition for those of us who didn't go to prep school and didn't have any idea what this was about.
The acceptance rate at Stanford this year is 3%. Imagine the imposter syndrome that those kids are going through.
Yeah, I think that we were fortunate that I don't remember if it was 30% or 15%. It was a lot higher than that. And not to say that those were the good old days or anything, and to criticize the modern era, but I think that we were more mortal than the kids are now. And I had a daughter who went to Stanford, and it was the first time I'd heard as they were introducing. It was sort of the send-off meeting for parents. They had this giant dinner after you'd already said goodbye to your kids, and they introduced us to this thing they call the duck syndrome. Everybody know what the duck syndrome is? The duck syndrome is they say Stanford students are like the duck syndrome, which is that you look on the top of the water and they're all, floating around, everything's fine, but underneath they're churning it out like crazy. And I think nowadays for these kids to be part of that 3%, 5%, whatever it is, they have to be so unique and so driven and such freakishly good kids that they end up with a lot of anxiety and stresses. And I know that from my own experience of watching my kid go through the whole thing. You're dealing with a different phenomenon now at these high level schools, at the Ivies and the Stanfords now, and selecting out a different group. They're unbelievable, these kids, but it might come at a cost. I don't know.
Diana, do you know the breakdown between gender at Stanford? Because one of the trends that I have been following for years is the percentage of women versus men, which is the opposite of what we all experienced when we were there, because it's conservatively, people are saying it's 60-40 at most universities, and really it's almost 70-30. So I didn't know if, do you have a statistic on that for Stanford by chance, or no?
I don't. I just know that you're right. It's shifted, and now the schools are giving preference to men, to guys to get in.
Right.
I used to volunteer at my high school doing musicals, directing musicals. And, you know, you could give a job to whatever girl was going by and boom, it'd be done. And you'd give it to the guys and they were clueless. And so, yeah, I don't know what's been happening, but you can see how this can be happening with whatever changes.
I mean, it's been I've been following it for years, 10 years prior to COVID. I mean, it's kind of a societal thing. I just didn't know if Stanford has been affected by that too. Don't mean to be a downer. Sorry.
Well, we had the ratio still when we were there.
Right.
And that's been eliminated. So you're saying that more women, there's 70% women undergrads now?
Yeah, it's.
I have only boys, so
nationally, I don't think that's true at Stanford necessarily.
Stanford's not. It's 49% males and 51% female in the undergrad
Did you guys look
class.
that up?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I mean,
Of
I think
2022.
each college is different, and I think there's an overarching percentage in the United States. And so, if you take that, I mean, that was a general statistic, but I do know
trend is
that
definitely that way.
in general, it is unequal.
Mark, I really appreciate your bringing up the challenges and not just the fun memories. It makes for a much more interesting reunion.
Unfortunately, I got more challenges if you want them,
See, so my problems with the 40 series were not unique. I always thought I was the only one who had to start calculus from ground zero because I hadn't had it in high school, and somehow I ended up in the engineering series. That's probably how I managed not to have to take the chemistry class that you guys took, because I had the same class but with a different professor, and it was like completely different. It was actually not bad. Not until third quarter. And then that professor seemed to hate undergraduates too. But yeah, I still think I was just talking to my son who was over for dinner the other night about the 40s, because fortunately my boys were way better in math than I was. But yeah, I was telling them about all the help I needed with my problem sets. So I think I spent most of my time at Trancos doing, at least for those 2 quarters that I took it.
I remember all you guys sitting out in the hallway doing problems and talking to each other. And you guys were on a different planet, on a totally different planet. But what was cool about it is that it wasn't individualistic. You're kind of all helping each other, but I do remember long nights watching you guys doing that. You had like 3 problems for homework and it was impossible. And I don't know, that's what my observation.
Well, it was a 5-unit class, so it was 8 a.m. every day of the week. That was part of the brutality of it. But everybody wanted to take it from Professor Bacon because he was wonderful. He could draw a perfect circle without even looking at the board.
Yes.
I took calculus my first quarter at Stanford also, but I took the 3-unit class because I said, I'm not in the track for any of this science or math stuff. But at the end of that 3-unit class, I passed it. I think I got a B in it, but I realized that I still had no idea what it was about. So I retook the class and I took Professor Bacon's 8 o'clock class, the 5-unit class, but I only got 2 units of credit for it. But I had to do all of the work. And I'm still not sure if I ever really got it. So, which is sad. Anyway, no more math for me after that. I was done.
I ended up going to law school, so that to tell you something. just
on a really different academic note, do you remember when a lot of us took sex education that was just being offered in MEMOD, and we were all too cheap to get the textbook, so we just had one for the dorm? And the night before the exam, you got an hour slot to read the book, and mine was like 3 to 4 because Chaz's was 2 to 3. And it was a big book too. You're just going like this and then passing it off. That was high academia.
Was that Zimbardo? Was that
It
the
was
guy?
yeah, and he was
No,
just
no,
starting.
it was
to
not-
No,
no,
Zimbardo.
not
Cachadorian.
Zimbardo.
Cachadorian.
Oh,
Cachadorian.
Cachadorian.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
I do remember one class that I took in Mem Odd, and it was exam time, and I was sitting up in the balcony, and they were passing out the tests, and I fell asleep. When I woke up, the test was in front of me. Everybody was scribbling like mad, and I had no idea how long they'd been doing that.
You probably had the 4 to 5 slot.
I don't know. I don't know what class it was. It might have been human sexuality.
Memorial Auditorium, that had to have been a huge class.
It was.
It was huge, and I think it was broadcast on like the local, the campus radio station, so you didn't have to go to class. You could listen to the lectures on the radio if you wanted.
Probably better than sitting in the balcony.
I'm going to talk on a comedic note. I have a recollection of, with, I don't know who else, but a bunch of us, we piled tables on top of each other in the dining hall, nearly up to the ceiling. And I'm not even sure how we did it, but it took weeks for the dining hall staff to get them down. So we were all a little proud of that.
Another question. I think it was freshman year. Didn't somebody was late coming back from vacation, and was it Charlie's room that was absolutely filled with bicycles?
My room.
Huh? Was it your room?
My room filled with wadded up newspaper.
Right.
Oh,
right.
Yes.
So when yeah. I can't remember why people wanted to do that, but it's weird.
I don't either, but you all met me when I came in at the front door with my suitcase from Christmas vacation. And I go, I must be doing a really good job because look, everybody's so happy to see me back. And yeah, that was such a hoot. But the thing that I really appreciate was that my freshman year, the RA when he was a freshman, they filled the RA's room with Jell-O.
Oh, wow.
So I got to say, you guys really let me off easy. Yeah. I was on the cover of the Daily because of that stunt. You really did well.
Yeah. Yeah, that picture is on our Trancos site on the alumni
Oh, really?
Dude,
I'll
yeah,
have to
it's
go
in
look
there.
for it.
Yeah, Carl put it in there. So
Funny.
taken by Robert Wu.
Funny.
All right.
What happened to Robert Wu? Where did he end up? Anybody?
No, don't know. Haven't heard from him.
He might have been a urologist, you know.
That or he changed his name to Mark, you know.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know where he ended up. We have an email from, but it's a Stanford alumni email, so you know, not everybody reads their own.
I did hear briefly from him. He just responded when I was sharing about the journey with Pat's cancer, and he just sent a short, reply he appreciated. But that was about it. Yeah. So I don't know where he lives. But... Oh, by the way, I know some people kind of fessed up to not doing the homework. I want to make sure I get credit for doing the homework. So
Wait, is this credit, no credit? Or are we getting graded on this?
I don't know. Mark was mentioning homework, so I
pass, fail.
I'll tackle all 4 of them in a mere 2 minutes, I think. So, most interesting thing I did at Stanford, meeting Pat, my wife.
Yes.
Where I ended up and how I got there, Fremont, because it was affordable. Already addressed that. Telling about my family. I already did that. And all my sharing. I think one email I sent a PDF with all of our Christmas cards and photos, which I'm sure you dutifully, read, or at least you looked at every photo. And if you did, you'll know that Hawaii was a common theme. And so that brings me to I was trying to think of the most exciting thing since Stanford. That kind of stumped me. But then for some reason, this just occurred to me, and it was an adventure in Hawaii, on Maui, where Sean is now. And one of our favorite hike on Maui is a trail east of Hana that passes by a waterfall and then around a banyan tree and through this wonderful bamboo forest, really enchanting. And then you come to another waterfall at the end of the trail. And when I first saw that waterfall, it was calling for me to sit under it. It was kind of a valley high moment, if those of you who've seen South Pacific. But Pat wasn't hearing that call. And we had been behind waterfalls before together. We had been on the Jungle Cruise at Disneyland a number of times. But somehow she thought this was of a different order. And I don't know, maybe it was because it's a 400-foot waterfall. It's Waimoku Falls. I don't know if any of you have been on that trail. Goes down a lava face, and there are a bunch of boulders at the base in the pool, which is kind of a message. And so, she thought that sitting under the waterfall was not really a bright idea. And in that respect, I think the wise rangers at Haleakala National Park would agree. But I was looking and I was seeing over to the left, not under the center of the waterfall, but over to the left, there was a local Hawaiian family that was under the waterfall, and not quite as much force coming down there. And I thought, well, they've got to know what's up, they know the terrain. So, and I think I've got to do this. And Pat didn't object too much, so I guess she recognized that it was not too risky. So I went over there and had that experience. It was very invigorating and a little idiotic, which I guess would apply to a lot of exciting experiences. But one water experience in Hawaii that we did share was snorkeling was always our main activity. And I just remember one time being surrounded by this school of fish just swirling around us. And it was quite, we just felt embraced. It was really an unusual experience. And that's the kind of experience she could handle.
I have a question.
Can I bring up another comment? I've thought of this many times as I read about the students at the students at Stanford and how you have to design an app or invent something or come up with a new drug or something in order to get accepted. And I've always, anyway, for years, I've always thought, and I don't know how many others have thought the same thing. I could never get admitted to Stanford. Now, I think I only got in because I was from Pennsylvania, and diversity in those days was getting people from different states. And I don't know if any of you felt the same thing, that it would be impossible.
Well, there was a tongue-in-cheek opinion piece in the New York Times, I think, a while back, and saying that Stanford shocker, admissions shocker, Stanford doesn't admit anybody for the class of whatever it was, 2020, and so they're quoting anonymous admissions official saying, well, we looked and there wasn't really any student that we couldn't do without. And we looked through and I didn't see anything in the applications I looked at. I didn't see any Olympic athletes, summer or winter games. And we had one student who had done surgery, but it wasn't open heart. But she'll thrive at Yale. It was beautiful.
Good.
Can I ask a question of the group?
Yeah, go. Sure.
So, first of all, let me say that my Stanford experience was great. So I don't want to be the guy who always brings up the downer stuff. But I got to say, I don't remember the murders, the Stanford murders.
Oh, I do.
And I remember, because I don't remember why it was women, but I don't remember.
And one guy. It was 3 ladies and one guy.
So, but I don't remember being petrified or being told we're supposed to be petrified. I don't remember the whole thing. And how can you have a campus where there's murders and not have us running around like in a state of fear? I don't remember.
As a woman, I mean, as a a female undergraduate, I think it stuck in my head, and also in the what one woman was found in a classroom in the quad, and I used to go over there, and in church too, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
real church.
yeah. So I remember, just because those were the places that I would frequent. So yeah, I do remember. But yeah, I can understand why. I mean, I think would have more residents now, obviously.
I think now if you heard about it, it would first of all be all over the place. Everybody would be all over the place. I would assume there would have been security around just to make everybody feel better. But I don't remember living in fear at the time, because it somehow didn't reach at least didn't reach me as an issue. So
well, I wasn't in contact with you, Mark, through texts or emails or any of that. I mean, so our world was really, I mean, in those days, it was just a different world of communicating.
Right.
Well, not to mention that, Mark, your daughter and my daughter both went to Stanford. I always joke with her that if it were the two of us competing, there's no way that I would have gotten in.
Absolutely not for me. You would have, not me.
But secondly, if you think about the difference between the level of security in the dorms, even now, or when our daughters were there versus when we were there was no security whatsoever. Anybody could drive onto the campus and walk into a dorm without being flagged down by anybody. You didn't need a key card to get in or anything as far as security.
Right.
Just going back to that time, I was pretty good friends with Rob Witt for some time, and I just remember him saying that he had helped somehow following the murders to help. I mean, especially the one in the church. And we stayed in touch after college because he married somebody else who went to Piedmont High. And I know, anyway, I tried to help the team find him, but he seems to be hard to track down up in Ashland, Oregon. But yeah, I mean, we're lucky here. It's a very quiet, safe town, but even on campus for the last reunion, it felt very different. The level of security involved in getting into buildings.
Oh yeah, you need a pass key to get into any building. And when we were there a couple of years ago, my son was wandering and wanted to poke himself in. So, he would draft behind somebody that had the door still not closed. We could run into this building, and it was a neurobiology building or something, and wandering the floors. So it's like, yeah, it's much tighter these days. One, I think because of costs involved and stuff, but also clearly trying to protect people. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, I'm trying to remember. I think we had a key? Wasn't there a key to unlock the door, the doors at the end of our dorm room, and that was our security?
But they're most always open anyway.
They're most always open, yeah.
I thought they were locked at night.
Yeah, they might have been.
Diana, you should know that.
So just throwing in a different perspective at the reunion a couple of years ago, I too walked around and tried to go into buildings. And because I was in more of the music, creative, non-computer area, all those buildings that I wanted to go into, I just walked in. They were not locked. They were just, okay, sure. So I walked into the Braun building and I looked at that whole building. And so I think that just wanted to throw that out there that, musicians who, they're sort of on the side, but I was able to get into those buildings. Whereas I guess what you're saying is some of the computer science and those buildings are a little, and I went into the law school. That was open, but yeah, it's just throwing that in there.
Speaking of buildings, is Wilbur Hall still there?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Trancos is still there?
Yeah.
Yes.
My daughter was at Trancos her freshman year.
Oh, you're
That's funny.
My youngest son was in Trancos freshman year.
Well,
as I in with a refrigerator or something in my hand, I believe I can't remember if it was Tessier or who the president was at the time. I said, whatever it was in 1972, this was my freshman dorm, and now my daughter's going to be here. And he says, well, I hope she's not going to be in the same room. That would be weird. He wasn't.
So the Wilbur Fields, so behind Otero, that side, there's an underground parking garage.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And where the trailers used to be, the Garrett Casper, they have some new dorms, but the rest of that field is the Manzanita underground parking garage. So
couldn't have happened to a nicer living situation.
So I don't know if you can see this or not, but I've been doing some cleaning up of an old storage area, and I ran across the Stanford Suburban Survival: How to Get Along in a Manzanita Park Trailer.
Oh, really?
Sophomore year, and
That's
it
funny.
told you how you could get along and how the trailers were all laid out and all of that stuff. So,
oh,
yeah,
cool.
They haven't been there for decades now, I think. But
yeah, I think they tore them. They sold them off and tore them down somewhere in the early 90s.
Does anybody remember the night? Because I think this is when we were living in Trancos, that one of the trailers burned down.
Yeah,
yes.
It was
because people were doing. They were melting candle wax.
They were making candles. Yeah.
But that was interesting to watch. It was a short. Those things went up. When they went up quickly.
Yeah.
And that was in the same neighborhood, basically, within just a few trailers of where Tim, Carl, Kevin Hayashi, and I ended up junior year, right?
Yeah. So I think we were in 12, which would be right across the street from where the 13 one burned down.
Right.
Yeah.
One of my sophomore roommates actually lived in that trailer.
Oh, really?
One of her roommates was the one that burned it down. Yeah.
Were the candles nice?
I don't think they probably didn't survive.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So Bill, that's kind of an interesting document. Can you scan it?
Sure.
Having spent 2 years in the trailers, of which I remember, Steve, they used to have parties in that small little building that was off the green area.
Right, the clubhouse kind of.
The little clubhouse stuff. I remember we had parties where it was bring your own stuff, and you could bring any booze you want, and they'd pour it into a trash can, and then they would serve it up out of that.
I believe that's a picture of a drawing of that room right there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Sure, I can.
That'd be kind of fun. It's kind of I searched one day. I was looking for, I found some picture of the trailer where people were in it. I was trying to remember I remember the weird fake paper, wood paneling, right? And they had aluminum wiring. So we one year were on the end of the grass stuff. So anytime anybody would hit the trailer, the question is, would you lose an outlet or something like that? So
That was interim housing, wasn't it called interim housing or some?
Yeah, they were purchased in theory like in the late 60s as temporary housing.
Yeah, and they were there for like a quarter of a century.
Yeah.
Over
20 years. Yeah.
I think we were there about year 10 or so, or somewhere in that neighborhood. Yeah.
To get back to Trancos, though, I believe now the trees have grown up sufficiently so that if you go to the 3rd floor of Trancos and try to send the water balloons over to Branner, they won't get there anymore.
What do they even do with their time?
The other thing I remember in the field was someone made a big poster of the Colorado driver's license with a cutout for your head, and with taking a photograph and laminating it, it looked just like a real Colorado license. And that's how we got that's what I remember, how we got a fake license to go to bars at age 18.
We should all lift a glass to the Oasis, the long-awaited Oasis.
Yeah.
Yes, and a thing of peanuts.
Yes. I don't know
Yeah.
if Frenchman's is still there, but the idea of talking somebody into getting, or I guess you could even take a bus. I remember taking a bus once. Cindy, how did we get to the Oasis?
I
talked people
thought
into it.
Mason took us, but I don't remember that well, but I think it's gone now. I mean,
yes.
Yeah, the Oasis is gone. The Dutch
Rest in
Goose is
peace.
still going strong.
Dutch Goose is
And
still there.
Rosati's now it was bought a couple years ago and kind of revamped. And we don't live real far away from that. If you drive down there on pretty much any evening, there will be 400 cars parked in the field out. I mean, it is one of the most popular places around right now. The Alpine Inn or Alpine Beer Garden, Rosati's.
So, like, do you guys remember? I can't remember if it was Spring Court or something. We went to an Italian or a pizza place called Jose's, and we had I think we had a party there, and it was a private party or something like that, and they were serving alcohol or whatever. It was somewhere in Palo Alto.
Carl, I remember you and I being at the Oasis. We all egged you on to chug a beer.
Oh God, it was my birthday.
And poured the pint glass, set down the pint glass, and chugged the pitcher.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was impressive.
If you turn, I think when you turn 21, they would give you a free pitcher of beer. And if I remember correctly, Tim, the group of us consumed way too many pitchers of beer and barely made it back to where we were staying. And then someone had the brilliant idea of, well, why don't we bookend your birthday and go again later tonight? and we tried that, and I'm pretty clear we didn't drink that much beer. But we just had the burger and peanuts. So,
a question though, wasn't there a period of time, not very many years, where it was actually legal to drink up to 3.2% beer and wine and nothing else until you were 21? But I thought there was a few years or something, and maybe it was when we were there. I don't remember.
I think that was Colorado, but I don't think it was California.
Really? Okay, could be, because I was in Colorado also, but I don't remember it being that. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of remember in Colorado, they had 3.2 beer, and so you could buy it at the grocery store, but you couldn't buy anything else with higher levels. So,
okay, maybe that was it. Yeah.
That's the whole truth behind Coors,
We're coming up on 4, and we said we just do 2 hours. Carl and Tim, is there anything you wanted to do as we end?
We haven't had our toast.
We haven't had a toast. Tim got his mimosa
Anybody
there.
has anything to drink?
I did, but it's all gone now.
It's all gone.
Well,
I have one thing.
I wanted to thank you for being diligent and putting this together.
Yeah, really.
Because I think so many of us, I mean, I don't so many of us, but I think we all really appreciate your not giving up on all of us. Absolutely. and sending out the emails. I really appreciate it.
I think it's been fun, and I think after Lynn and Janet and I went through our reunion for a couple of years ago, and Lisa said, "Well, can we do something virtually?" That kind of got us going, and I think it's been fun of just being able to do this annually because, well, let's face it, we're all over the place. And it would be fun to be able to recombine and meet a bunch of people at our next reunion, just to have fun and wander the campus and, make our own toasts.
Absolutely.
So I have one last thing for folks. And, I create a little web page, and because the information we get from the university is kind of sketchy. And if people would like to volunteer contact information, in case we might want to mail something or maybe provide your birthday or whatever else, it would be cool if we could try to collect this information. It would stay within our group of folks, but hey, you might be able to build a Christmas list.
You're gonna send that?
I'll send the link out. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. All this page does is send me an email, so I'll just collect it into whatever we've got. Because what we got from the university was kind of sketchy. It had no, lucky it had an email and potentially a phone number. So
That'd be great.
Great idea.
that's it.
Yeah, good.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you for being diligent and keeping this up. This is a great idea.
Yeah, I think it's fun. It's been
And thank you,
well. I'll tell
Janet.
you what.
Thank
When
you, Janet.
Janet and Lynn and I tried to pull this together last year, we had no idea how long this would last, right? And we started with a period of time, and then people just kept going and going, and here we are, 2 hours in on this one, and it's just been pretty much nonstop discussions and memories and everything else. I think it's kind of cool. And I appreciate everyone being able to spend the time and making sure we stay in touch.
Looking forward to 26.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here.
All right.
Be well, everybody.
Be healthy, be well.
Great.
Bye.
Take care,
Bye.
everyone.
Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Alrighty. Bye-bye.